Hi, I'm Melissa with A Creative Journey with Melissa, and I am here to show you some awesome Chameleon pens. They are alcohol-based markers. If you've heard of Copic markers, or there's some other markers too, I can't remember their names, unfortunately. But Chameleon markers are basically your one-stop shop for alcohol markers. So I'm going to show you a cute little project, but I'm really going to focus more on coloring with them and showing you different things that you can do with them, okay? So these are the Chameleon markers we're using. We're using GR3, OR4, RD4, BL3, BR5, CG8, and the color Splendor. If you need to ever have any of this information, I do have a blog post that has all the detailed information if you ever need it, or if you like to look at pictorials versus videos. So let's get started here. You're going to use a Memento Tuxedo ink, which is Tuxedo Black. You're going to use the, Tim Holtz stapler, and that's to put your twine here and also your ribbon. You're going to be using a punch. You're going to be using a clear block. You're going to be using a little bit of ribbon, twine, and you need paper so that you can stamp on it and punch it out. Okay? So now that we've got that out of the way, I'm going to put this stuff aside. We'll use this in a little bit. I'm going to keep these out. Now these here, these stamps here, these are a Creative Journey with Melissa stamps, and this set is called Your Snow Wonderful. It's really quite awesome. You can do a whole bunch of different things with it. The coolest thing that I enjoy is that you can build different items with it. You can do a little Christmas tree, big and little. You can use faces. There's snowballs. You can draw a little mini snowman. Here's a kid snowman if you wish, or a smaller snowman. Snowman, snow woman, hearts, there's the arms. This is a bird, a baby bird. This can be a dog or any kind of pet. These are arms and legs, faces, the little stick arms to make different sizes, and of course we have all your sentiments. I'm focusing right now on the tags because you can use the for you or the to and from for the tags with this set, and I really enjoyed creating this set because I thought it would be very versatile. And not only is it great for cards and tags, but it's really cute for a scrapbook page as well, for an embellishment or any other creation you have. So let's move on here. I'm not going to be stamping anything because I've already prepared that for you so that I can show you more of the technique of coloring. So what you do is you want to make sure when you use alcohol ink, you want to make sure that you use an ink that will not run or bleed. And this is my favorite ink. It's Memento ink. I use Tuxedo Black, or I've also used Rich Cocoa if I want to use it for brown. There's a whole bunch of different colors you can get with Memento, but this is what I use whether I'm using whatever brand of alcohol markers I'm using. This is the ink I use. Actually, I use this ink no matter what, typically. So just to make sure that you have that in your toolbox, great idea. Okay? So these are the creations that I made. Now, they're not super fancy. They're not super detailed, but I wanted to show you some really cool things you can do with the ink. This is the little snowman, and you'll see here it's gray and it looks like there's a little bit of sun. I'm sorry, there's a little bit of snow. And then here it's a little bit of blue and it looks like there's a little bit of clouds in there. So I'm going to show you both of those techniques. And then here we colored both just the standard color of green with brown, and then here I use a variegated color by using the Chameleon markers also, so you can see the details there. Okay, so here is the snowman, and here is the tree. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to pull out the two little guys that I did stamp for myself already. I'm going to start with the Christmas tree. Now, the Christmas tree is pretty simple to do. So all you need to do is stamp this, obviously, and then pull out your two markers. These are the two that I would use for just the Christmas tree, and it's GR3, and I would use the BR5. Okay? Now, if you're not familiar with Chameleon markers, this is basically a 2-in-1 pen. You have a brush tip here, and then you also have a bullet tip or like a writing tip Okay, so those are the two pen nibs that you have, and they are replaceable, and that's an awesome thing because these are forever pens. They're not just throwaway pens. Now, the difference between this marker and any other marker that I've come in contact with is you have it all in one. So in here is where you keep your blending ink. The blending solution here would be clear. So basically imagine this, it isn't white, but imagine it to be white. So every time you place this onto your marker, it will make it lighter, as if you're adding white to the color that you want. So if you want it lighter, you hold it on there for a longer period of time. If you want it darker, then you want to hold it. You don't want to either use it at all or use it for a very, very short period of time. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that, okay? My preference is to use the brush nib. So that's what I'm going to use for this. And what I mean by you place it on there is here you have this chamber, okay? I'm not sure if it's really clear, so I'm going to do that. See where that little area right in there? Right in there, that nib in there, that will touch the top of this nib. So I'm going to show you right now. You just click it in, and there. And then you hold it up like this, straight up and down, okay? And you can count 5 seconds, 10 seconds, depending on how long you want to do it for. I'm going to hold it for a little bit just so I can make sure that I'm very clear in showing you the difference in color, okay? So I think that's enough. That's probably about 10 to 15 seconds. You can see the difference in the nib here where it's really light on one end and very dark towards the bottom here, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the top and we're going to color down here. So we're going to do it really light here. And basically what's happening is, as I color, the blending solution is going away. So it's being used and then more of the color comes through. So that's why I'm able to give you a different color as I color down, because the blending solution is being used on the paper and then the other color of the actual alcohol ink is coming through. So let me just finish this up real quick. And you'll see how it's variegated. And as I started, it was very light. And then as you can see, the more of the colorless blending solution gets used, it's not light anymore. It starts to get darker as you go down. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the brown. I'm also going to use the nib here, that is the brush nib. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold it here. I'm going to hold it here for probably about 10 seconds. I want to make sure that it's pretty light so you can see the difference. And then I'll show you on the next tree how it looks with just the straight coloring. There's no blending solution or anything, so you can see exactly what it looks like, without using any of the blending solution. Okay, so I think we've got it here. It doesn't look too much different as far as color here goes, but there is quite a difference, and I'll show you here. Okay, so this is the lighter, and as you can see, there's hardly any color at all. And it starts to get a little bit darker. Because it's such a small area, I'm gonna keep going over the same spot so you can really see the color better. Because once this brown comes out, it's super duper dark. Let's see here. I might have used a little bit too much blending solution and kept it like that for too long, but that's okay. But you get the idea. So we'll start here, and then I'm going to go a little bit further down, darker, and then a little bit further down, darker even, and then you'll see how dark it can become. There. Okay. Now, like I said, I think I used a little bit too much of the blending solution, but at least you can tell the difference in the colors and how it started at the beginning and how it did toward the end. Okay? Now, it was much lighter. I went over it quite a few times so you can see the difference, but there. See how light that is on the top of the trunk and then down there? that really shows you how many different color varieties you can get out of these awesome markers, okay? So I'm going to put this away here just for now. So now I'm just going to use the brush tip. It should be at its regular color because I've pretty much utilized all of the blending, the colorless blending solution. So I'm just going to color it just like you would a normal marker. And you'll see how it's a really smooth look. You can color in strokes if you want to add a little texture, or you can do it in circles, which tends to give more of a smoother look. I'm doing it in a little bit of strokes just so we can see a little bit of texture. It's not going to be super texturous, but you will see a little bit, okay? Like there. Okay, and you can see the difference between the two there. How light to dark and how textured that looks versus just the straight color. Okay, and now I'm going to show you the brown marker and how that looks when it's really dark. I'm going to show you here. I have a little scratch piece of paper just so you can see how dark it normally is. Now look at the difference in that color. I mean, that's really quite a difference. Okay. So I'm just going to color this real quick. Fills in really nicely. Great smooth color. I love these markers, I really do. Okay, so then we have this. So that's the difference between the two. Okay. All right. Now, well, I wanted to also mention too, I don't know if you noticed that there's a little bit of bleed out here. Because I used so much of the blending solution, had to keep coloring over and over again. You want to make sure that, for one, you try not to do that. Because this is a one-shot take that I do, I'm going to obviously leave this mistake in here. But next time, I would more than likely, instead of holding the blending solution for, say, 5-10 seconds, I'd probably do it for 2 or 3. Okay, and just try my colors. All right? So, I'm going to set these aside. And I'm going to pull out the RD4, the BL3, the, let's see, OR4, we have the CG8, and we have the colorless blender. Okay, now I'm going to use this for my little snowman here. Okay, I'm going to start off. You want to start off using the lightest colors first, because once you get a darker color on there, it's very difficult to make those corrections if you make a mistake. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the CG8 and I'm going to put it on the colorless blender cartridge here. I'm just going to do this for a few seconds and then take it off, and you can see it's really super light. And as I color, it gets a little bit darker. I'm just making a little small shadow on the snowman so you can see his appearance, that he is a snow dude. Okay? And then if you wanted to, you could even make a little shadow underneath him to kind of make him look a little bit more realistic. And that is kind of a cool thing to do. Okay, it's not my best job, but you get the point. Okay, so as you can see, when I used the colorless blender cartridge here and added some of the excuse me, colorless blending solution, you see how light it is there versus how dark it is there. You can see that a lot of that ink did come out. Okay, so now I'm going to show you just a little technique that I think is really neat. And instead of coloring this all gray like I did in the example, I'm going to show you like this. I'm going to show it to you in all blue and show you how neat that looks, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this blue and I'm going to add some of the colorless blender ink to, whoops, wrong side. Oh, and the other thing I want to tell you too is if you want the brush tip, if you see this here, the brush tip has a gray little ring around it so you know which side is which. I always forget to look for that, but that's a great thing for you to keep in mind. Okay, so we have this, and we're going to take the colorless blending solution cartridge, put it right on top. Just hold it there for a few seconds. I don't want it super light, but I'm going to be going over it to kind of give you a different look. It'll be pretty neat. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so it's pretty light, as you can see here in the nib. So we're just going to be going over it all over. Just going to color that in, and I'm doing it in circles, as you can see. Now you could use the regular nib if you wanted to. I personally just like the brush better. I think it's just because I like how it looks and how it turns out. I think that's just because it's my preference. Now I'm doing it very loosely around the image. I don't want to color inside that image because I'm almost done with the snowman idea here, because you're only going to do a little bit of gray on the inside of the snowman. You gotta you can use my stamp, which there is stamps for the carrot nose, but to save time I decided to just utilize the markers and show you how to make a really quick carrot nose in just a second. Okay, so like I said, if you color it in circles like this, it's kind of neat because you get a really neat looking pattern. It's almost cloudy. Okay, now it will change as time goes on because it will dry. Okay, but I want to show you what this looks like. Put this back in and close that up. And you see how that is? See how it's kind of faded in certain areas and not in other areas? Now some of it's because it's drying, but the other part of it is because the different areas where I had more blending solution versus lighter, and whether I colored it twice over itself or not. So there's a whole bunch of different ways you can add different color and dimension to your creation. If you color over something once and leave it, that's about this color here. If you color over it twice, that's getting a little bit darker, so you'll almost double the ink that's on there. So that's how you get the different looks. Okay, now the other thing I want to show you, which is really, really cute, I think, is trying to make this look like it's snow. So now the colorless blender, that solution in itself basically, like I said, takes away the color. I said think of it as like a white paint. You would add white to it. Similar to that, only in this case it's more specific. You're taking color away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a few dots on here so you can see it almost looks like a little bit of a sun shower coming down on this tag, and I'll show it to you closer in just a second so you can see what I'm saying. And I'm also going to do it on the gray just so you get a better idea as to what I'm saying, because it's really, really obvious in the gray. Okay, now it takes a little bit for it to show up, but once it does, wow, it really looks neat. So I'm gonna try to throw a few more on here so you can see it happen as it changes, as it dries, so you can see this. Now as you can see, there's some white dots there, and if you look at the gray, it'll start to come a little bit more and more pronounced until it dries up, which should be in a few seconds. So you can see on the bottom there where there's the dots, that's where I put the colorless blender and took away the color. And like you could see some of these white dots that are on this tag, that is because I made little like snow marks by taking away the color in the blue. Okay, so we have that, and we have this. Now I'm going to take the orange, actually I'm sorry, let me take the gray. I'm going to quickly make sure that the gray looks good on the snowman. I'm going to do the head a little bit more, just a little bit, because it needs a little bit more showing that it's got a little bit of dimension there. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit more color, just a little, and maybe a little bit more on the inside there, and that's it. Okay, now I'm going to put this one away. I'm going to take the orange, and I'm going to just take the brush tip and just really make this little bitty swoosh, just for a little nose. That's it. Nothing too exciting, just a little bit of orange. Okay, let me show you what that looks like. Just a little bit of orange for the carrot nose. Okay, and like I said, I have carrot noses in different sizes in the stamp set, but to save time as opposed to doing some stamps and things like that, I thought right now I'd just show you the, a different way to do it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to color the cute little scarf. I'm going to color it red with a little blue dot. And you barely need to touch it to get color on here. So you want to make sure that you don't push real hard, especially not with the brush tip, or use too much ink, because you're really going to saturate it. For one, you'll waste your ink, but for two, it's really not necessary. And then here, got that little blue dot there. I just think it's so cute, little snowman. So this is what we have here. Okay, and see where the blue dot is, where the tie is for the scarf? I thought that was a cute little accent, something different. Okay, and then again, we have the tree here. Okay, so all we got to do now is we're going to take our Tim Holtz stapler. It's got the mini staples, and I love these mini staples. If this gives you an idea, this is just about 1/4 of an inch of staple, size staple, and it's just the cutest thing, great for any accent or any creation. It's just really an easy way to fasten something to a project or to a creation or gift. Now what I did here was I added this natural twine so that you can put it even around a wine bottle or some type of handmade cupcake mix maybe that's in a bottle or a jar. I thought that would work really well. Or you could put this on the outside of a package or whatever you'd like to do. So all you do for this is you're going to take this natural twine, you'll fold it in half, and obviously you want to make sure that you measure so that it's the correct length that you need. And you're going to make sure you hold it. Okay. And then you're going to put the staple right on top and just staple it right in place. And you're done. That's it. Pretty simple. And then this is even faster. You could do a whole bunch of these at a time. You just take some ribbon, cut them at an angle, or you can cut little darts in them or whatever you prefer. And you take this, put it right on the top, staple it in place, and you have your creation. So I hope you had a great day today enjoying this chameleon marker color bonanza I've got here for you. I hope I was able to show you some things on what you can do and different things that you can do with alcohol markers, specifically with the chameleon markers. All alcohol markers basically do work the same. I like the chameleon markers because, like I said, they're like an all-in-one. You have one color of green and you can add all different kinds of colors by adding or taking away the blending solution, and I really think that's great, especially for those of us that travel. There are stamps that you can use to color in, as many of us like to do, and this is a good example of what kind of stamps you can use to create with the chameleon markers. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a fantastic day, and we appreciate when you take the time to watch our videos or check out our blog.